Anybody here in a relationship? Okay, half of you. What's with the other half? What's your problem? You're happy. How many of you know that you don't have any problems with relationships? Okay, because I'm not even talking to you, and I know that. I've done this so much. I know you're killing it. Look at you. You're amazing. So I'm not even talking to you for the next 45 minutes. I'm talking to the people on your right, okay? Don't look at them. That is so rude. You know who they are. You brought them, right? You brought them hoping that they would learn to fix this. So we're gonna work on them for the next 45 minutes. And when we do this, we gotta have fun. I found that if we're having fun, it makes learning a lot easier. I've also learned that you guys, because you're killing it, sometimes it's hard to deal with humans. How many of you have noticed that? How many of you have found when it comes to your business, it would be like you're killing it. You got the tech, you got everything you need. You got the mission, the purpose, and the passion. But what you're struggling with are those jacked up other humans. It's the humans that really make this hard, right? But it's weirdly the humans that make the business work, right? So that's what we're gonna talk about. And as we get into it, I've gotta show you this picture. Anybody know John Maxwell? Great author. I got to go to Aruba on a speaking tour. I flew in on a bus, an airplane that looked like a bus, pretty much, just wings on a bus. And he flew in on his jet. And then we took a cruise through the Caribbean and went to a bunch of different islands and did some speaking. But on the cruise, it was one of those kind of like, I don't know, like cocktail cruise at night when you're just walking around having all this fun. Just sitting there watching the sunset, and I saw the coolest picture. I'm gonna show you this picture. It's life-changing. This is a 1 in a million picture. And it was a picture that to me represents me and my wife in our marriage, okay? It's just symbolic. It's not real, you'll see that. I mean, it's real, don't get me wrong. But the image is just me and my partner. And I don't know if you've noticed this in your own relationships, but some people just effortlessly do relationships. Have you noticed those people? They're just good at it. And then some are a little clumpy. They're just a little messed up. So here's the picture. And it's amazing. Do you know how hard it is to get a cow that far out of the water, by the way? They don't even have any webbing. They have no webbing, but they're just kicking their little heart out, right? So that's me. Guess which one I am? Yep, I'm the cow. And my wife is the beautiful, skinny-waisted, big bottle-nosed woman. And just gliding. She just naturally gets relationships. But I had to learn. I had to get a lot of degrees to figure this stuff out. And what I learned is that if everyone would just do what I say, this world would be a better place, right? Any of you feel like that? So this is something I found during COVID. This is such a cool quote or thought because you've all put together your teams. You've put together the people that you love around you. But scientists have calculated this. What are the odds or the probability of your existence as you are right now in this moment? Okay, the odds of you being you as you are in this moment is about 1 in 400 trillion. That, if you translate that into time, a trillion seconds is over 36,000 years. So 400 trillion would be 14.5 million years. You are a 1 in 14.5 million per year person, right? And you're with a bunch of other people like that, but they're so jacked up. So here's another way to kind of explain that. Ali Benazir says, imagine that there was one life preserver thrown somewhere in some ocean, and there's exactly one turtle in all of these oceans swimming underwater, right? The probability that you came about and exist today is the same as that turtle sticking its head out of the water in the middle of that life preserver on one try. That's you. And the people you're trying to draw in to help, they're 1 in 400 trillion too. But what are we worried about then? Our hair. You're a 1 in 400 trillion person. You're like, yeah, but I'm fat. You know how hard it is to be a 1 in 400 trillion person with a little bit of fat? Yeah, I do. I actually do. I mastered it, okay? I'm crushing it. But when it comes to human beings, you're not just to be taking it lightly. You're in the space with a really powerful person, right? And we all want more, don't we, from life? Here's an activity that I'd love you to just conceptualize with me, okay? And I learned this working with Stephen Covey, but we all want this. This is pretty much the epitome of you and one of your QLAs that you're trying to do business with, right? You and them, you want to create more together. That's called synergy. That's called value add. In our relationships, most of us aspire to that equation. The reality is a lot of us get this one, right? You and them sometimes mess it up and it gets ugly and then the cops come. And then somebody's going to jail. You know how your parties and your meetings go, right? But I want you to notice something. In any relationship that you have, that one and that other one could be the same people. You and your partner could have 1 + 1 = 5 sometimes, and 1 + 1 = -5 other times. Some of us don't even try to do the synergy thing and value add. Some of us just try to break even, right? If all you did with every one of the people you bring into your organization is break even, can anyone predict the future? Stephen Covey used to say, if there's no margin, there's no mission. You need to make money. You need to make more and create synergy. And the hard part about our lives is, do you know how to do it? Or do you just hope to find the right person that knows how to do it? But what I found over 30 years is we actually can create this synergy. We don't happen into it. We don't luck upon it and just stumble into it. You can create it. So do you want value add, value minus, breaking even, or compromise? If every time you interact with another person on your team, you're losing a little bit, you're always losing with them a little bit, it won't work. Value minus or compromise, it won't work. By the way, there are places you can compromise. Let's be very real. You can compromise on lunch. Should we go to Taco Bell or Taco Time? And then all you ask is, I don't know, how do you want to be sick? Because it doesn't matter. Which end do you prefer it comes out of? It doesn't matter. It's all the same. But you can compromise on some things, but you can't on other things, right? You can't compromise on your values. You can't compromise on your principles. You can't compromise on your ethics. I can't compromise with my wife. I only want 50% of your fidelity, right? And I found out with my kids, I can't compromise even on how I discipline them. My wife and I used to argue if we should spank our kids. I was pro-spanking because look at me. I turned out great. And my wife was not pro-spanking because you know why? She was a teacher, blah, blah, blah. And she learned all these ways to motivate kids, whatever. But we never even needed to talk about disciplining kids until those kids needed discipline. And then I would just jump in and want to discipline them. So could we compromise on that or did we have to synergize? We had to find an answer. We tried to compromise. We decided to only spank them on odd days. And our children would come in and say, hey, Dad, what day is it? Why? Why do you want to know? I just want to know, is it odd or even? Is today a spanking day? Why? I have something to tell you. I just don't know when to tell you that. And then my kid's therapist said we can't do that anymore. So we don't even do that anymore. It's so sad. We don't even try to spank them anymore. Actually, they're so old now, they spank us. It's so great. So as you guys sit here thinking about it, can you do 1 + 1 = 5? Think of your team. On your team, are you good at the synergy? Are you good at making it happen? Because there's a power here, okay? Part of the key is it's not you and it's not the other person you bring on that are the key. It's actually somewhere in that 1 + 1 = 5 equation, there's hidden value. And it's not in you and it's not in them. It's where? It's in the space between you. And by the way, the energetic moment is where? It comes from us, it comes from them, and it emerges in the space between us. And it creates, in physics, what we call an emergent property, something that didn't exist in either one of us, but is new to us. That's the power of this type of organization. The power to work that space. That space, by the way, I call it the space between, and I call it the relationship. Are you good in that space? Because I'll promise you, your business is going to be hanging on that space. It will hang on that in every major disaster. It will hang on that during every major difficult moment and on every synergistic opportunity. So that's what we're gonna try to work on, is that space between for the next few minutes. By the way, here's my dad. This is exactly what my father looks like, which, I mean, dang, I wish he was that smart. But that's my future right there, sadly. So here's the quote that I love, because this is what messes me up in my relationships. Einstein says, "You cannot attempt to solve a problem you created at the same level of thinking you were at when you created it." Make sense? You cannot outthink a problem that you've created unless you change your thinking. Have you ever lost your sunglasses that were on top of your head? What is the deal with that? You're so messed up. But for 1 hour, I looked for sunglasses so we could go to St. George, because my eyes are very sensitive and I need my sunglasses. And for 1 hour, we looked everywhere for my sunglasses, except the place that they were, which were on my head. For 1 hour, my entire family looked for my sunglasses. And my family is so blind that they couldn't see them perched on my forehead. They couldn't see them there. So we were looking and looking and looking, and I even called my son. Hey, you were playing with them. Where are they now? He's like, I don't know. I gave them to you. No, you didn't. Just get home. We're looking for my sunglasses. He got home. We're all looking. Nobody could find him. Nobody. Everywhere. I asked the kids, did you look in the basement? Yeah, I looked everywhere. Oh, did you? Well, then why don't we have them? Go upstairs, walk in my bedroom. My wife says, I've looked everywhere. Oh, have you? I'm gonna check the closet. I check the closet. I bend down by my shoes, and you will not believe it. Boom. Right then, I found them. They had fallen off my head, and they were on the ground. And I just yelled, found them! And I picked them up, and I put them in my pocket, and I quickly didn't talk about it the rest of the day. Because I'm an idiot. I don't mean that I do mean that. I'm an idiot. And so we looked, and then my wife's like, where are they? I wanna see them. I'm like, you've already seen them. Why do we need to? I just wanna see what we were looking for. You looked for an hour and you didn't know what we were looking for? Who does that? That's crazy. So I just like, I'll show you in the car. Let's just get going. Now we're so late. So we were driving, if you know Utah, I was down to about Beaver, Utah, which is the middle of nowhere. And finally, by the way, my eyes were burning. I could smell smoke because the light was so bright on my beautiful little eyes. And she's like, but I couldn't put on my glasses because she didn't know that she married an idiot. And so she's like, let me see the glasses. I'm like, oh my word, fine. Here are the glasses. And I pulled them out and I showed them to her. And she's like, those? Yeah. Those were on your head. And I'm like, no duh. I knew that. I was testing you guys. And by the way, you failed the test. Massive fail. And then we just drove the rest of the way not talking. It's a beautiful way to make somebody be quiet. So for the next few minutes, we're gonna talk about 4 areas where each and every one of us need to get better in the space between. And I'm gonna give you some tools, okay? The space between, remember, is the relationship. Without these 4 things, you're not gonna change your team. You're not gonna change yourself. You're not gonna transcend your life. You're not gonna get better, right? The 4 things, to me, this is actually the logo of my company: heads, hearts, hands, and hopes. If you want to have a healthy life, healthy relationships, a vigorous mind, body, spirit kind of experience in your life, you gotta have your head in the game. You gotta know how to get to the heart of really important issues, right? And how to share your heart. Are you good at sharing your heart? Are you adequate at that? You gotta have the hands that can lift and serve and bring people in, and you've gotta have the hopes of a future. Heads, hearts, hands, hopes. 4 principles we'll teach you, okay? First principle we're gonna work on is character. Here's one of my favorite secrets about relationships. You will never have a higher level of relationship than you personally have the character to possess. The power to move millions. If you
comes
don't
from
have
the
integrity,
integrity of one.
you cannot have a highly integrated and healthy relationship, period. You can't have more than you have. So that tells us that the power of the relationship is not necessarily in anybody else. It's in my ability to have the character to have it. Character fosters mutual trust. Think of somebody you know that has immense character, that you revere because of their character. Do you trust them? Now think, what do they do that builds the trust? Yell it out. It doesn't matter, I'm deaf anyway, I can't even hear. Say it real loud, I heard it up close. I still can't hear. They're honest. They're relatable. Accountability, reliability, integrity. What do they tell you? The truth. How do they tell it to you? Authentically, and in a way you can hear it. They don't try to blow you out of the water, but they're gonna tell you what needs to be said, but they're gonna say it in a way you can hear it. And they're gonna be into you and about you. That's called character. Now, think of your team. Are you exuding the character? Are you showing the character? Are you possessing those traits that we all have, that we all revere, right? As something of character. Great story about Gandhi. Gandhi's sitting there one day. Mother brings her boy in, says, Gandhi, I'd love you to tell my son to quit eating sugar. He eats way too much sugar. Gandhi tells the mom, you know what? I'd love to tell him. Bring him back in a month and I'll talk to him. And the mom is like, we don't come back in a month, so it'll cost us more money to come back. Can't you just tell him now? And he'll do whatever you say. He loves you. And Gandhi says, I know, I'm so sorry. Just bring him back in a month and I'll talk to him. And she leaves mad. His character made her mad. And she went back to her village and then had to get another train fare, came back a month later. They knock at the door. Gandhi sees the mother. He remembers the boy. He kneels down and he invites the boy over. He cups his chin and he says, son, you gotta quit eating sugar. It's bad for you. And he stands up and he pats the boy on his head and he sends him on his way. By the way, the boy said, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you say. Yes, sir. Pats the boy, sends him back to the mother. And the mother's like, that's it? That's all you're gonna say? And Gandhi said, I thought you said that's all it would take. And she said, why didn't you say that a month ago? You would have saved me all this fare. He says, ma'am, a month ago, I was still eating sugar. What's that called? Character and integrity. Gandhi wouldn't say something he didn't believe in, which eventually got him the power to move millions. The power to move millions comes from the integrity of one, right? Do you possess it? And do the people in your relationships that you're trying to bring in, do they see immense character? Do you respond with integrity? Are you reliable? Are you honest? Do you say more than you should? Or do you say what should be said? Okay? Part of it, the problem is each of us has a brain. And the sad thing is many of us don't use them. But inside of our brain, we have kind of various parts of our brain. We have the prefrontal cortex, kind of the managing adult, like the organizing, healthy choice-making part of our brain, the executive function. And then lower, deeper down, we have this thing called the amygdala, right? The amygdala is the fight or flight system of our minds. And inside of that, they call that the reptilian brain because it's the most base brain. It's just pretty much fight, flight, and survival. And all information has to go through that brain. And that brain, though, is the reason we need character because that brain makes us react. And that brain makes us make decisions that aren't necessarily aligned for what's healthy and what's most effective in life. And that brain, I just have found, asks three very basic questions. Everybody's amygdala or fight or flight brain asks three questions. First, it always evaluates if it's a threat. Is this a threat? Is this a threat? Is this a threat? So if my wife says, do I look fat in this dress? My brain is like, do not answer that question. This is a threat. This is a threat. You cannot answer that question. I had a client say, well, not fat. You look squishy. You look squishy. Yeah. Anyway, they're not married anymore. He said, yeah. She's not going for squishy. So is it a threat? If the amygdala deems it a threat, then you know what it asks? Can I eat it? See how base this brain is? Because if it can eat it, then it's a meal. So any threat that it can take, it's dinner. And then the third question it asks is, can I mate with it? So apparently we found the male brain, which my wife loves that because that little amygdala is pretty much what has put men in prison like 10-1 to females. We're killing it. So do you have the character to do it? Let me just teach you a really quick tool, okay? In medicine, they have this tool where they always check your vitals before they treat. Check, treat, check, treat, check, treat, check, treat. That's the idea. They're first gonna always be influenced before they try to influence. They check your vitals to be influenced, then they know how to influence. And then if the influence works and they check the vitals again, what should happen? Vitals should get better. If the vitals don't get better, then they alter what they were doing. They call it vital signs. Check, treat, check, treat, check, treat. Let me just suggest to all of you in your relationships, human beings have vital signs that are about our relationships. There's 3 signs I look for. And if you see them, life's great. If you don't see these signs, or if you do see these signs, I want you to stop. There's gonna be positive vital signs and negative vital signs. Anytime you see these 3 things, I pretty much want you, this is a new technical term for some of you, to shut your cake hole. I want you to quit pushing. Quit pushing. And if you see these signs, it's time to get curious, right? The signs are very simple. Anytime I see negative emotion on the rise, if they're mad, if they're angry, if they're crossing their arms, if they're rolling their eyes, if they're a teenager, anytime you see mad, negative emotion, I want you to pay attention to it. If it's positive emotion, feel free to do whatever you want. Say what you want. But if they're sad or quiet or, despondent and just detached, pay attention. If you're having a conversation about the opportunity in your organization and they're not engaging, get curious. There's something there, right? Second thing I look for is whenever you see emotion go up, you'll see understanding go down. If it's getting more and more confusing, if it's turning into an argument and now it's confusing, what's the science behind that? And you're starting to see emotion and confusion, slow down, slow the flow, and I'll show you how to get real. And the third thing I look for is mistrust. Anytime I see negative emotion, misunderstanding, or mistrust, I slow down. By the way, humans are wired to communicate that. And by the way, you're wired with mirror neurons to pick it up. You are wired as a human being to be able to notice that. So do you? In the space between, we have to pick this stuff up. Now, you can feel free to, if you see these vital signs, just keep going. If you see positive emotion about the opportunity, keep going, keep going. If you see a lot of understanding and they get it and they see how they can use it, keep going. And if you see really high trust, they're opening up, they're being vulnerable, go ahead and go. That is an act of character. We have to read people as we go. There's not one script to sell the product. There's not one way to do anything. I've sat with thousands and thousands of people in the highest conflict you can imagine. $1 million deals to marriages with kids. And every single time, this is the tell. This is where we have to start. So do you have the character to go there? Let's give you some more tools. The second principle we want to work on is communication.
He was definitely different. I felt it in my gut that I just paid a little bit more attention. When he was younger and he said, "I love you," randomly, it was more because we were kind of trying to force him to say it because it wasn't something that he could say on his own, but you could see it in his face that he wanted to say it.
I knew it was like his brain was like holding him down, you know? You can watch in his eyes like I want to do it, but I can't, like I'm stuck.
There was just so much uncertainty in our future, in his future, and that terrified me. So my husband used to tell me, wake up because you're gonna miss it all.